To the people who have been desperately trying to make excuses for the premeditated violent attacks and rioting against Jews in Amsterdam, and who claim that it wasn't a pogrom, let me ask you this. What would you have called all the violent attacks against Jews in Arab and Muslim countries, which ultimately resulted in almost 1 million Jews to be ethnically cleansed from those countries? What would you have called those attacks? What excuse would you have given for those attacks? The reason why the pogrom in Amsterdam was so triggering for all Jews everywhere is because we didn't just experience violence and pogroms on European soil by white Nazis. We also experienced violence and pogroms within the Arab Muslim world by Arab supremacists just less than a century ago. So this isn't new to us. So my question to you is, what would you have called all of those anti-Jewish riots in the early 1900s against Jews in Hebron and in Jerusalem and in other parts of the land of Israel? What would you have called those? What would you have called those violent attacks against Jews in Iraq, Egypt, Yemen, Algeria, Morocco, Libya? What excuse would you have given for those attacks? In Iraq in 1941, Jews were subject to violence, murder, rape, and looting in what became known as the Farhud, which translates to pogrom in Arabic. And the Farhud is what ultimately signaled the beginning of the end for the ancient Jewish community in Iraq. In 1948, there were 150,000 Jews in Iraq. Today, there are only 4 left. In Yemen, Jews were slaughtered during bloody pogroms, Jewish-owned businesses were looted, and homes, schools, and synagogues were burnt to the ground. Israel had to send rescue planes to save these Jews from persecution. Sound familiar? Today, there are 0 Jews left in Yemen. In Libya, 2,000 Jews were transported to desert concentration camps called the Jado camp. In 1948, there were tens of thousands of Jews in Libya. Today, not one single Jew remains there. Jews were also massacred in Algeria in Nazi-inspired pogroms. There were once more than 140,000 Jews in Algeria. Today, there are less than 200 left. In Egypt and Syria, the Jewish quarter and Jewish-owned businesses were burnt to the ground and Jews were denied their citizenship. Today, there are only 3 Jews left in Egypt and 0 in Syria. These countries revoked our citizenships, seized our homes, our businesses, our bank accounts, over $300 billion worth of property. And don't think for a minute that this violence was only celebrated in Nazi Germany. It was also celebrated within the Arab world. Hitler's manifesto was even translated to Arabic to be sold in Arab countries. You see, propaganda has always been a tool used by our perpetrators in order to build public support, in order to persecute us. Because once you've accepted that propaganda as truth, then suddenly every single attack against us becomes justified.